Howdy, and welcome to another South Dakota Sports Lounge. We're at Gibbs Sports Bar on the east side of Sioux Falls, where in a month this place will be packed full of football fans on Saturdays and Sundays. But the talk has already started because camps are underway, including college football here in the Dakotas. The Jackrabbits, the Coyotes, the Bison, and the Fighting Hawks all underway this week. So we are loaded with conversation about pigskin. And we'll go to Vermilion, where head coach Matt Vidstham had practice number 1 on Wednesday. And we'll go to Brookings, where Tyler Merriam, the voice of the Jackrabbits, sizes up that squad as they started practice on Thursday. And we'll go to Las Vegas, where we hear from one of the Bison's new opponents in the Mountain West Conference, the head coach of the Air Force, Troy Calhoun. But we lead things off with an interview from Happy Hour with John Gaskins earlier this week with 3 men, 3 super fans from USD who have put together a podcast that is growing steam. It's called the Howling Podcast. Chad Birger, Mark Wendt, and Jordan Decker all told me about how it all got started and what makes their show unique as they connect to the fans and the coaches and athletes in Vermilion. And we also got into some big topics about USD, and that includes the athletic director for the last couple of years who has no doubt shaken some things up, Jon Schemmel.
Well, I don't feel qualified to. I'm not in the building day to day, so I don't know what's happening, and I obviously don't have the.
But this is what's great about having you guys. You're the fans. It's great to hear the fan perspective on all of this.
Jon Schemmel, I think, has done a great job, and he's been super gracious to us. Been on the show twice, and I hope he'll come back on. The thing I like about Jon is if you ask him a question, he's not going to give you the PC answer. He'll tell you exactly what he thinks, and that's probably got him a phone call or two from Sheila Gestring now and again. But as a fan and as a show, I mean, that's pretty awesome that you could just ask him a question and he'll tell you what he thinks, and then we'll go from there. So I have nothing but good things to say about our AD at all.
Yeah, and he's always...
Well, you want him on your show again, so...
He's always been gracious to us on the show. But even, like Mark said, when we see him... I went to a softball game this spring, and he said, "Hi, Chad, how you doing?" And, I mean, it's neat when you see a Division I athletic director who gets to know who the fans are and, acknowledges them and says hi to them and asks questions and is involved with things. I think that's a big plus, and I think that's one of Jon's big strengths is that he gets to know who people are. At the same time, I mean, that guy, he's got a family, and sometimes people just rip into him on social media and other places, and he's trying to do what he thinks is best for the institution, for the University of South Dakota Athletic Department going forward. And if you're a decision maker, people aren't always going to like your decisions. Guaranteed. That's the only guarantee, is that whatever decision you make, 100% of the people aren't going to agree with it. And I think he's done a great job of just handling some of those criticisms graciously.
He's well aware of taking the bullets. He went through a lot of controversy just a couple of months ago with the softball team. But Jordan, your feelings on where it appears the athletic department is headed?
Not to
last couple of years.
Say the same thing as Mark and Chad, but Jon does a damn good job of talking to alumni to raise money for the athletic department. He did an outstanding job at Dakota State, and he's doing an outstanding job, record-breaking money year after year. I mean, the east side of the dome, the track and field, new complex, softball's coming up, I would imagine. We'll have the Howling Podcast deck out in left center, right, guys?
Make yourselves known as always. Yeah. Coors Light. Mention number 3.
That's Chad's plug.
You guys want free Coors Light for the rest of your lives.
Free Coors Light.
Go
for
no
it. Taco John's plug yet. No, but from that perspective, he's done a damn good job. And like Mark said, we're not in the building. No one's perfect. And, if you're making decisions and some of them don't get some criticism, then you're not doing your job right. Yeah. So I have full confidence in Jon and Corey and the staff over there. They've made necessary adjustments to this level of Division I and what's coming up, with the Power Four doing whatever they're going to do. I have full confidence in his vision of where USD athletics needs to be down the road.
You gave me an opening to a place I wanted to go anyway. How do you guys feel about USD one day being FCS? Would you like to see that happen? There's and then there's realistic things, and John has mentioned himself that he's got his deputy AD already kind of working and investigating some things, but no one really knows. The big question is always, can you afford this? And those are better questions for John to answer. But as fans, how would you feel about a move to the FBS?
I might be in the minority. I don't know. I kind of like where we're at, really.
Yeah.
We're competing for championships at this level. Mm-hmm. If we go up, then we're competing for the Idaho Potato Bowl, maybe on a good year. So I know there's money, financials involved, and all that stuff, and maybe for exposure, and who knows what else goes into that decision. But
would you be the Idaho Potato Bowl is kind of the classic example people use. Would you find it during the regular season more fun or more interesting to play? Air Force, Hawaii, North Dakota State again, teams like that.
Wyoming would be another one. I mean, there's a chance for some of those rivalry type things to appear, but I kind of agree with Mark. I'm really comfortable with where USD is at currently, but at the same time, it all comes down to what are the other schools in the league going to do? Because if the other schools go into the FBS, then USD kind of has to go as well, because it's one of those those type of situations, and it's difficult. I know I wouldn't want to be there. I just know regionally, there's not a lot of great Division I FBS schools in this region. Nebraska's always down. Iowa punts a lot. I mean, I feel like a lot of those guys we can. USD has no problem handling
Minnesota,
those.
Whatever. PJ keeps his job every year, whatever. Jordan, your feelings about FBS?
So the Montana schools, I believe, have a thing where they have to move up together. I think that's a part of their board of reviews thing, right?
Yeah.
And in the state of South Dakota, I don't care if it's a lukewarm take or a hot take at all, but I truly think that USD and SDSU have conversations, or have had conversations, and will continue. I think it's the betterment for both institutions that when the Power Four does their thing, probably within the next 5 to 7 years or whatever, maybe sooner, that what's that next level for the top tier of FCS schools? And does that really give our student athletes, because John has said that too, like we need to be looking out for our student athletes and the experiences they have while they're here. Does that give them the better opportunity to succeed? And it'd be cool to be at the FBS, how that affects other sports that we have. But like Mark said, I'd love to win a national championship too.
Yeah.
I'd love to see I'd love to see us host Montana or Montana State. Love to bring back the fans of Tarleton State for maybe a semifinal match.
Yes.
But no, I think it'd be cool, but I would love to just see us really, really excel at this FCS level first. But as the landscape changes, things will change too with that.
The other component of the new age is the transfer portal, NIL/transfer portal. And, I've asked coaches about this, ADs, even athletes, and certainly other media, but not fans. Matt Zimmer and I will sit there once a week and try to guess what the fans are thinking. What are you thinking about, how have you processed the fact that, basketball is a perfect example, but football got just, pummeled in the spring of 2025, that, most of these athletes, if they have one great season and are on an all-conference team, and certainly if they're All-American, they're going to leave. And we assume that fans, certainly who would like that, right? But it's not. But I've always felt like you're not going to give up your fandom. There's still a scoreboard. You still want to go to games. You're going to root for who's ever in that laundry. But how do you guys see it, Chad?
John, I'll twist this around. If ESPN came to you, or one of the big sports networks came to you and said, "We're going to offer you $1.5 million next year to come play for us," you would be crazy. I don't know what you make now. I'm assuming it's close to that, but you would be absolutely crazy to turn that down. And so I think
First question maybe is Cordell coming with?
Yes. You're right, Cordell.
But it's
Cordell coming with.
Yes, it's one of those situations where you can't blame the players for being involved in the system that currently exists in major college athletics. Yeah. It is what it is. The NIL era is there. The student athletes are benefiting greatly from that, and you can't blame those student athletes for putting their own best interests in the very first position. So, financially, it makes sense completely to us. We have had several, USD has had several transfers that have gone on to other places, and the three of us as fans have no issues cheering them on. When we see Cincinnati's playing on a Thursday night and Joe Cotton's playing, we'll be texting each other in the group chat saying, "Hey, check out our left tackle over there playing."
Yeah, Lorenzo Fenner's had
exactly. Yeah. When Dre Bullock made the NCAA tournament with Hawaii this last year, we were staying up till 1 a.m. to watch some of those games when Hawaii was playing. And so, we kind of feel like it's one of those things where you want to cheer on those athletes wherever they go, and be supportive of them. But at the same time, it is a little bit frustrating when, every year you kind of have a major turnover in some of the rosters and trying to learn who everyone is. Mark, I know you have trouble with names sometimes when we're sitting there in 106 row 2, but it's one of those things where, we want to cheer on all of the people that are there for the Yotes and who have ever been there for the Yotes.
Mark?
Well, I think two things. I think Chad's right, but the NCAA does need to put some guardrails on this thing. It's just too crazy. Just some sort of, I don't know if they, they're talking about the 5 for 5 rule now, which would be great. Already lawsuits about that.
Of course.
So, but just some sort of rules. It doesn't feel like there are any rules right now. And the second thing is there's 2 seasons to the transfer portal, right? There's when everybody leaves and everyone's like, this is the worst thing ever. And then they come.
It comes in. I mean, the USD women's basketball program would be like Exhibit A for, hey, it can work for the school too. They weren't very good the year before, and a new coach comes in and kind of cleans house, or it naturally gets cleaned, and she brings in, Carrie Amy just crushed it in putting together a team that wins 26 games, and none of you had to wait 3-4 years to go through 8-20, then 15-15, then maybe they give it a run. Like, boom, instantly they gave it a run. Jordan?
Oh, well, my thing would be that's why you go to games. I mean, without the transfer portal, we don't get, Josie, Elise, Patience, Angie, and that exciting team. You saw it game after game last season. More people come in. Winning helps obviously, but they'd see the way they play. What is it? Defense and rebounding, right? It is a must, and it was a fun team to watch. In football, you see that too. With guys getting brought in, there's a lot of talented transfers that have come in. And Mark was right. It's when transfers out, it's the sky is falling. This stinks. Loyalty. And as someone, I'll be transparent that initially in that NIL stuff, I was like, come on, like you could be this, you could be that. But Chad's right. I've gotten to talk with some of the student athletes and former alumni too, and they're like, if you're thinking that I wouldn't take $100,000 to go play, or $200,000 or $300,000 to go play at another school, you're crazy. Like to get that opportunity to play at that next level. So to USD fans, like we've got to embrace who we've got here now. Go to the games, go watch. Football team especially, running backs, wide receivers. I mean, Lorenzo last year was kind of like, huh? And then, I mean, the close fans knew, like, he's very talented, but he just broke out. And now look at him going to Cincinnati. There's guys on the team this year that will have that same opportunity and will probably produce the same way too. And they could be gone a year from now.
Catch that full interview with the Howling Podcasters on the Happy Hour page at SiouxFallsLive.com or right here at Midwest Sports Plus. It's a daily show. We'll talk plenty of Jackrabbits, of course, as we always do. Nate Brown did that on his Nate Brown show out in Rapid City earlier this week as he dove into the Jackrabbits with the play-by-play man, the voice of the Jacks, Tyler Merriam.
Tyler Merriam's in tonight before the State Legion baseball tournament gets started in Rapid City. Got a banquet tonight, got opening ceremonies tonight, and then first pitch tomorrow. He is announcing the Legion baseball tournament, Fitzgerald Stadium, and of course he is the voice of the Jacks. Tyler, welcome in. How are you?
I'm doing swell, Nate. It's nice to do this when I'm actually on your side of the state. Normally we're separated by hundreds of miles, and here we are just a stone's throw from one another. So it's kind of neat.
I love it. So you give me a read. You can't be too biased. I understand, Tyler. You're a professional. I understand. But I said Rapid City as a State Legion baseball host makes a lot of sense. I've been here a long time. The fans, the facility, stuff to do when the games aren't on. What do you think of Rapid City and Fitzgerald Stadium?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, and this goes back to when I was a coach and a player 2 decades ago, and since. Nobody supports American Legion baseball like Rapid City does at Post 22. I mean, that's just inarguable. There are some communities that do a really nice job. Pierre does a very nice job. Watertown had a great turnout when it hosted the tournament last year. But as a whole, because there isn't a college at the Division I level in the area, there isn't as much. Well, whatever. There's 10 different reasons, I'm sure. But the bottom line is, Post 22 baseball just has a special place here. It always has. A lot of that is the name that's etched in the field behind home plate, Dave Plouffe. And because of that, there's something special about it. And then beyond that, obviously, like you said, being one of the 2 biggest communities in the state certainly gives you more flexibility with things like that, with the additional opportunities to do things and go experience the Black Hills, Mount Rushmore, things like that. So that's cool too. But when you talk about a community investing in American Legion baseball, there aren't many in the country, yet alone South Dakota, that do it the way Rapid City does it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the crowd's going to be juiced, and they will follow Post 22. I get it, but it's a great fan base for Legion baseball. It's really special. The facility is off the charts for Legion baseball. So I'm looking at 2 teams out of Rapid City that have made it. People kind of forget about Post 320. We learned quickly last year they beat Post 22 in the first game, and now 320 I think is even better this year. What do you think about Post 320 on the rise?
I think that's really cool. I remember when it started, and it's grown so much for the better in a variety of ways from when it first started less than 30 years ago to where it is now. And that's the other cool thing, just kind of how it works out. I mean, 22 being the host is guaranteed that last game in the opening round. 320, by getting in, you don't know where they might have played the 10 a.m. game. No, they get the 4 o'clock game, which means that the last 2 games are the 2 Rapid City teams. So you hope that people will come out from Rapid City. You're going to have your 22 diehards. You're going to have some 320 fans, but you hope that some will come out and just watch both those Rapid City programs and support the younger crew. And again, 320's got a number of very talented individuals, multiple college baseball players on it. So they are certainly a team to be reckoned with. There's no question about it.
Yeah, Rapid City baseball scene. So here's the thing. Tyler Merriam on tonight, voice of the Jacks and the voice of State American Legion Baseball State Tournament. He'll be announcing on the PA tomorrow. Western South Dakota Legion Baseball still king. And there's been a change, though. High school baseball has grown a little bit. And travel baseball has grown a little bit. Eastern South Dakota, high school baseball, all the guys seem like they play it. Then they go to their Legion teams or their travel teams. How different is East River and West River when it comes to Legion baseball?
Well, it certainly is different because, like you said, in the East, there is more of an impact on high school. And again, that goes back to, again, I speak to 25 years ago, and growing up in Pierre would get 22 to come out and play on Memorial Day, and for a Legion baseball team, this is pre-high school baseball, for a Legion high school or Legion team to play other than post 22 before Memorial Day was almost unheard of. It just didn't start where 22 was playing games in April, right? I mean, it was almost a year-round thing 30 years ago, and that's why they had such an advantage over everybody, was the way it was structured. So the other part about it, too, that's so unique is that you have your Sioux Falls high school teams, but you'll have guys that play on just pick your high school team. You might have them go to 3 different Legion programs in the Sioux Falls area. Yeah. And so it's just a unique combination of the high school doesn't necessarily fully tie into the Legion in that respect. But Legion baseball doesn't have the foothold on the east side. It does on the west. There's no question about that. It is different. High school hasn't taken as much of the roots on the west side, but I don't – Will it ever? I don't know, because, again, Legion Baseball just means so much out here in the Black Hills.
Do you ever see that changing? I asked the question of the day, Tyler, on X today, and I said, where is the popular baseball choice for a kid in 10 years? Legion, club, travel, or high school? Does it change in 10 years?
Well, it's so hard, Nate, because, again, what are you doing it for, right? When Post 22 was built to try to build a state and national champion. That was the main goal when Dave Plouffe had it rolling. The purpose of many of the programs on the eastern side of the state was giving these kids an opportunity to play. And then if you were good enough, great. But first and foremost, it was more of an opportunity to play. That's where 320 came in, and you suddenly created more and more Legion players in Rapid City, was because it was about something else. Like, that's what it was. And now everything's changed. But in Sioux Falls, and there was a little bit of this in the early 90s with that Sioux Falls Roadrunner crew and then the Wildcats for a while. You had some traveling, but now you're getting to the point where you have certain individuals who feel like they have to play travel ball. And I think it's similar to, well, if I want to be a college volleyball player, I got to play volleyball 12 months a year. Or I want to be a football player, I got to play football 12 months a year. Well, you don't have to. You can play in your local teams all year long, and if you're good enough, you'll get found. But there is, that continues to be a thing, right? You know, of well, if I'm going to be a good softball player, we got to go to this tournament in Vegas this week, and this tournament in Omaha the next, and this tournament, rather than just play with your high school teammates all year. So how does that continue to evolve? I honestly don't know, and it's an issue for every sport. It's not just baseball. So it's really hard to give you an answer to that, Nate. I'm not trying to, in an election year, be political to you here. I don't know, because everything evolves so much. I wish that it wouldn't be as big of a deal that, well, we got to go to Vegas. Why? If you're good enough, people will find you. You know, I mean, it still gets them in the argument of, well, if I don't play in the SEC, I can't be a successful NFL tight end. Well, let's talk to Dallas Goedert and let's talk to Tucker Kraft and see what they have to say about that.
Yeah, really interesting. Where is Legion baseball in South Dakota in 10 years? My question of the day, your read on it. Tyler Merriam on tonight from Rapid City. I know you got to go opening ceremonies and the banquet coming up. I got to get some Jackrabbits in before I let you run. 2026 season's coming up. Guys are getting ready as we speak here. They're picked number 1 in the Valley. NDSU's gone. Who's going to challenge SDSU? I asked the UND coach, Coach Schmidt, I said, is SDSU the favorite? He said yes. And then he said like 4 teams are behind them, really, really close. What do you see?
Well, I get why SDSU's picked as the favorite, obviously. I mean, when you have an NFL-caliber quarterback and you have an All-American and offensive tackle back, that's a heck of a place to start. I mean, a year ago, there were so many questions about this Jackrabbit team, and Dan Jackson was treading water, right, just trying to keep things afloat, where now he's got a real good handle on everything. So they should be picked near or at the top. That's understandable. Illinois State went to the national championship game. Brock Spack has done a tremendous job with that program, and they're always a contender. So I think you have to put them in the mix. Southern Illinois has a tremendous offensive skill set, and they're going to be a team that's going to be someone to contend with. I think you certainly have to throw USD into that mix, UND into that mix. And I think what's interesting this year, too, Nate, is with the departure of NDSU, now you're back to a true round-robin format where everybody plays everybody. You know, you'd miss a team in the previous arrangement, or 2 teams even a couple of years ago. You don't miss anybody anymore. So you play everybody. So you can't, well, Youngstown got hot, but it didn't play this team, or vice versa. So if Youngstown ends up being better than you think, SDSU doesn't maybe get away with not playing them, or maybe USD avoids them. You have to play everybody. So I think that's what's cool about having 9 teams. Everybody plays everybody. But with everything that Dan Jackson has coming back, there is a ton of excitement that the Jacks will be able to return to where they were in previous years and be able to make another deep run in the postseason.
Is the USD game now the game? Dakota Marker's gone. Is that the game?
Well, I think certainly that's what a lot of the fans will look at, right? I think the North Dakota game has an opportunity to grow some, too. But I think by the same token, what you've seen is if there's quality in the league, like the Illinois State games and the Southern Illinois games have grown on people, too. But obviously USD being the in-state rival, that's certainly going to be at the top. And then I think a North Dakota's probably in that mix to maybe slide into a secondary role.
Tyler Merriam on tonight. He's off and running morning. State Legion Baseball starts tomorrow, Fitzgerald Stadium in Rapid City. He'll be on the mic. Tyler, have a good week, man. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, always good, Nate, and look forward to catching up with you here soon out in Rapid.
Appreciate it. Tyler Merriam on tonight, voice of the Jacks, voice of State Legion Baseball. He's been the PA announcer for those guys for quite some time. The pro, Tyler Merriam on tonight, voice of the Jackrabbits.
Let's go back across the state and to Vermilion, where USD did have its first practice on Wednesday. And Sioux Falls Live was there. Matt Zimmer and Trey Houchin size up what they saw from the Coyotes.
Welcome back to South Dakota Lounge, and welcome back to college football. Yep. It's July. It's hot as hell. We're here in Vermilion. Matt Zimmer with Trey Houchin. First day of USD Coyote football practice. Like I said, it was hot, although it could have been hotter. Yep. It's actually cooler today than it was the last couple days. Still enough to make you a little dehydrated, a little winded. Yep. And I don't know if you overheard Vitz's comments to the team at the end of practice, but that was the first thing he addressed was, hey, it's hot. It's going to be challenging to come out, but don't let that be an excuse. You still need to get out there and get after it, get ready for the season. It sure felt like this team showed up today on day one, ready to get after it.
Yeah, I said they definitely came out with a sense of purpose. Obviously, it was a little hot, so the guys are kind of dragging a little bit toward the end, but that's as expected. But I saw a lot of good things. Offense sort of moved the ball a little bit as they could. Had some hiccups here and there, but all the guys kind of worked in. Obviously, saw a lot of individual drills, a lot of little team drills, and nothing, too, exciting or overly, crazy anything like that. But saw some guys working hard, and that's all you kind of really expect for the first day.
Well, you mentioned the indie and the team stuff. I thought they did a ton of team stuff. Those team sessions were really long. And when I talked to Vitz about that, he's like, yeah, this isn't like the old days where you show up on day one and it's like, hey, welcome back. You're getting to know everybody. You're kind of easing into it. You're going all spring. You're going all summer. You basically hit the ground running like it's the middle of the season almost. You could kind of feel that. And I think that goes to show that even with a new coach here, that they're able to be in mid-season form.
Yeah, I'd say you can definitely tell they're out here. It's like you said, they kind of maybe started a little slow or whatever, ended a little slow at times, but they're trying to, like I said, it's first day of camp, so can't expect too much out of everyone. They're working hard, those types of things, but that's pretty much all I can say about that one for sure.
Well, obviously the question mark, the thing everyone's talking about is going to be, until they name a starter, is going to be the quarterback, and I'll get to that in a second. But outside of quarterback, what were you watching today?
I was looking at our running backs. I think that running back room is definitely loaded. I know we talked about it, beforehand and afterhand, but they got 4 guys in there. You got Keandre Jones, Logan, Charles Pierre Jr. is obviously going to be the head tailback. You got Carson Fletcher coming in. You got Reed Watkins. The loaded running back room. And I talked with running back coach Dante Warren afterwards, and he likes every single one of those guys. He's very excited about the freshmen they have too. I thought it was very unique and very exciting for those guys to kind of get in there. And you saw them. I saw them. We saw them out here competing. I think it's the main thing I was looking at. And obviously the offensive line is a little bit new. You have some new guys in there, so I was kind of looking and trying to see who's going to maybe fit that mold for the first teamers. But as expected, I think the running back room is definitely what I was looking at it from the first game.
It's funny, the Yotes are maybe getting a little undersold nationally. I think they got picked 5th in the conference preseason poll, and I've seen like in the 15-ish range in the national polls. And I wonder if part of that is because people who don't follow the program closely are like, well, we lost LJ Phillips. How they're going to replace LJ Phillips? They're going to be fine at running back. I mean, it might still be the deepest running back room in the FCS, even after losing a player like that.
Yeah, so obviously it's kind of hard, leaving someone, because someone leaves your program who has dang near 300 carries, and breaks all your single season records, and I get that. But like I said, they have 4 running backs that can all tote that rock, and they're all going to get their hands on the ball. It's going to be hard to kind of divvy out those carries as expected. But once they figure out kind of where they need to go and those types of things, they're going to be just fine running back for sure.
Well, let's talk about the quarterbacks a little bit. It's kind of between Jackson Proctor, the 1-year senior transfer, Nevin Kremascoli, the returning senior, and Austin Majeski, the freshman. Is it Majeski?
Majeski, yes. Majeski.
Okay.
Yep.
What'd you see today?
I saw some hiccups. I don't think anything was.
Nobody won a job today.
I don't think anyone was overly, impressive in it. I think they're definitely trying to still find their way in the offense. Obviously, Kremascoli's been in the offense this past year, so he might have, the biggest I guess, knowledge of the offense, those types of things with Tim Morrison at OC again this season. But, Jackson Proctor definitely shined at some at moments. But Austin and Austin, Majeski really showed up, I think, too. I liked what I saw from him. I think he came out with the first teamers a couple times. He did his thing for sure. And I think obviously that's going to be a battle throughout the camp. And obviously that's going to be a big question mark leading into the week 0 matchup. But hopefully the name is started in the next few weeks, but we'll wait and see.
It was kind of windy today. I think that it seemed like they struggled more on deep balls, and the wind might have something to do with that. But it's funny you say. I asked Vitz, what kind of timeline are you looking at here? And he said 4 or 5 practices. After that, we're not going to pick a guy, but after 4 or 5 practices, someone's going to start getting the majority of the number 1 reps, and then we'll see how that guy handles it. So these next few practices are extremely important. Somebody's going to get sort of the first shot at it, and then whoever that person is, he's going to have a little window there to say, hey, this is my job. I'm the guy.
And I wouldn't be shocked throughout the season, too, if they do name that starter, throwing in a couple, throwing in the other 2 guys. Hopefully it doesn't fall over here on us. A little windy. But, I think they're going to be kind of keep that quarterback position, open-minded throughout the season, too, even when they name a starter. Sure. So it'll be curious to see what happens there, and obviously we're going to be eyeing that throughout camp and throughout the season too.
Well, thanks, Trey. That's all we got for day 1, but thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow in Brookings for South Dakota State's first practice. Well, what'd you think, day 1?
Yeah, obviously loved getting back out here. Loved seeing the guys. There's obviously a ton of excitement. There always is on day 1. Also love the opportunity to play in some heat. Obviously, it's a challenge and an obstacle. There's always going to be those throughout the season, so glad we could come out here and do that. Obviously, tons of things to clean up, just like every day 1, everywhere I've been, every year I've coached. So excited to get in there and get on the tape. I know we got a group that's feeling the same way, but felt great to be back out here with the guys.
Sounded like you challenged him a little bit. Hey, it's hot, but let's get out here and get to work. Don't let that affect you.
Absolutely. Like I said, every season is going to have a ton of obstacles, a ton of challenges. We've got to look at them as opportunities, and today was an opportunity for us to come out with, not a 70-degree day and everybody's feeling great. So it was good. We had a challenge right on day 1. We'll find out who we are, and I like setting those up in front of the guys.
We were kind of joking about it earlier, just how different it is now with the off seasons being so much more involved. I mean, it sure looked like you hit the ground running, a ton of team stuff today.
Yeah, obviously, we feel really good about where we're at with the installs. We've installed all summer, kind of reinstalled. Day 1 is no longer just kind of baby steps, getting our feet
welcome back.
Yeah, getting our feet underneath us. So we really kind of dove in at kind of mid-book, mid-chapter, like, let's roll. I think not a ton of assignment errors out here today, which you'd love to see, but a ton of execution and fundamentals.
What position group? Obviously quarterback, and I'll ask you about that in a second. But aside of that, what position groups do you kind of have your eye on here early on?
Yeah, just the way we want to win football games and the way we're built. I continue to watch the O-line and the D-line. I think we have great pieces there, but I do believe, especially on the offensive line, I believe in those 5 guys playing together, playing as one. So really watching that group mature and develop and kind of come into their own. The beautiful thing is I think they got a great group across from them to challenge them every single day. A bunch of new faces over there, but a bunch of faces that we really liked what they did in spring, and we're really excited about where they're at now too.
Did you feel like your top 3 quarterbacks all showed up today ready to go to work and compete for that job?
Yeah, I mean, they're all there. We've tried to make the point is, just go be you. We need that group to be an elevator. We need that group to just go out there and execute and do his job. I think they're all excited to be back out here. We had to kick them in gear a little bit, get them out of kind of the summer training mode and into fall camp mode, but that's good. But yeah, all 3 love where they're at. I love their mentality, and it's going to be a battle.
What's going to separate the guy that wins?
Yeah, I think for me, just the guy that can consistently elevate our group and put our group in positions on offense to do, to have success. We don't need him to be Superman. I've said that over and over. We got a great cast around him. So just a guy that can continue to elevate and operate and execute our offense.
Do you want to name a starter quickly, or are you willing to take it right up to game 1?
We have a good plan in place as a staff right now. We're going to go through here the first 4 or 5 practices with really even reps. After 4 or 5, we're going to put a guy in that first role and give him the majority of the 1 reps and see how he handles it.
Sure.
Again, this evaluation started last spring, so we know where we're at and where we're sitting. So love our plan. We've had multiple discussions with ourselves, a bunch of other staffs that have been in this same situation. I trust where we're at, and I think we got a good plan.
And we will land the plane with the one that got away. North Dakota State no longer in the Missouri Valley Football Conference and the FCS. Don't know if you heard, but they've now joined the Mountain West Conference in the FBS. Dom Izzo, Mike McFeely, Jeff Kolpak, and the intrepid crew from Forum Communications and WDAY up in Fargo went to Vegas. They talked to all of the coaches in the MWC, and the one that may have left the boldest impression was the head coach at one of our military academies.
Our next coach interview that we had out in Las Vegas. So this one was with Air Force head coach Troy Calhoun. And when the announcement came, the Bison were going to join the league, I think many were attracted to the glitziness of the locales like Las Vegas and Honolulu and not necessarily focused on the opponents. Air Force jumped right off the plate to me, and that was one that head coach of the Bison, Tim Polisic, told me that was a nightmare matchup for him in his days in the Mountain West coaching at Wyoming, simply because then Air Force was humming along pretty good. Now, a little background here on the Air Force Academy, that for a while they dominated the Commanders-in-Chief trophy. That goes to the academy that has the best record among the three schools against Navy, Army, and Air Force. And when you do that, you get to go meet the president, which is a pretty darn cool treat of that if you end up doing it. But the rigors of the Air Force Academy do not apply themselves to modern college football. They do not entertain anybody in the transfer portal. You're going to hear why from Coach Calhoun here in a few minutes. They can have players leave. You'll remember, I think Citadel's quarterback last year that came in the game was at the Air Force Academy the prior season in 2024 before leaving. So the players can leave, but entering, that's a whole different deal. They obviously run the triple option on offense, which creates some challenges in its own right. And the academic part of this cannot be underestimated. That is the best way I can set up this conversation, which runs the gamut. We talk a little bit of football, but a lot of things are way big picture. Here's our conversation with Air Force head coach Troy Calhoun.
Super thrilled to meet you because I'm a big fan of you and your program. I asked Coach Ken about this. He got to meet the president. You've done that several times as well. That alone is really, really neat to me. Just can you describe that of taking the team to the White House and what that experience was like?
I'll say this. We've been really blessed. What have we been through? Obama, it was Trump, it was Biden. Three straight administrations. And regardless of whether you vote, don't vote, whatever that may mean, I think each was really, really genuine and extended their gratitude, their thanks for our young men and really young women, all of our cadets at the United States Air Force Academy to be able to make a commitment to serve.
To have that, knowing that you're sending young men out and they're not necessarily going to the workforce, they're going to go serve overseas, they're going to be in battle. What does that mean? I mean, it's way beyond a football game.
Well, no question it is. You feel that responsibility. Yeah. You think of really an 18-year-old in 2026 that's willing to say, okay, I know that place is hard. It's hard academically. The military and the squadron obligations you have, the classes that you're going to take, whether it's 2 levels of calculus, aeronautical engineering, physics, astronautical engineering, 2 levels of chemistry, to take 20 semester hours and still find a way to play intercollegiate athletics. Amazing young men and young women, and thankfully they're the ones that ultimately, that when necessary, they're the ones that are going to fight for our freedoms.
Oh, just saying that, I'm exhausted, and not even talking about the football aspect of it. Can you give us what the daily the schedule is for them before they come and see you? Yeah, sure can. They usually get up right around 6:15. The freshmen get up at 6:15. The upper class get up at 6:30. They have morning formation. They have breakfast. They have class from 7:30 to 11:30. They have noon meal formation where they'll march to lunch. All 4,200 students, cadets, eat at the same time. Wow. Right after lunch, they have a leadership class. It may be, an academy graduate that's a executive vice president or a CEO of a
major corporation, or we have 2 former football players that are members of Congress, one a representative in North Carolina, one a representative in Texas, or a colonel or a general or some. I mean, it's just unbelievable what they're exposed to. Now, it's hard. I have my freshmen currently. They're in basic training. They have super short haircuts right now. It's not all fun and games right now. Now, they'll be all right. They'll get through it. The maturity, the growth, the fortitude, just the toughness that you want in a future officer in our Space Force or our Air Force, you're sowing those seeds.
Man. I know I'm going to talk somehow transition to football here. I know last season obviously wasn't the kind of year you were hoping for. Tell me about 2026 and how you turn that around, knowing in an era where everybody can add players in the portal, and that's just not available to you at the Air Force Academy.
Yeah, that is hard.
Yeah,
I mean, a real
I bet.
difficult adjustment. And yet, you know what? You got to evolve. That's no matter what you're doing. I mean, if you're if you're at Minot Air Force Base and they used to have propellers and now they have jets, doggone it, let's get on the cutting edge and fly the jets, or, if the missiles didn't fly quite as far, and so now the ICBM's got to change a little bit, then let's make that alteration. I'll say this. I mean, it's just things are probably likely to be a little bit cyclical where we are. Just because you do not have fifth-year players. Right. You are not able to add from the transfer portal, but guys can depart into the transfer portal. And we have not taken a transfer, or at least in the last 20 years we have not. I'm certainly open to it. That young person has to know they're going to start from scratch and go through, again, that good haircut and basic training. We'll have a little more experience this year. I definitely think in 2027 we'll have a strong football team. For these seniors, they want to be competitive now, and I want that for them as a coach.
The challenge of running the triple option. Tell me about that. That's the offense you want to run, and having the kind of football players at the Air Force Academy to make that a successful outfit.
Well, it takes a great deal of unselfishness. If you don't have the ball, you are going to be a blocker. I think the other part of it, it fits in terms of the precision, some of the unique, certainly the ball handling, the number of post-snap decisions that have to be made. To a degree, it really fits the makeup of a young person at the Air Force Academy.
I have to ask your thoughts when you heard North Dakota State was being rumored and then being accepted into the Mountain West Conference for football. What was your takeaway from that?
Well, I just don't – I mean, never has there been a team that's better prepared to do it. I made an analogy a little bit earlier. I mean, I think James Madison really was seamless in being able to make that transition. You're talking about a program in North Dakota State that's resourced so much better than James Madison, where there'll be no hiccups. I mean, you look again, the last 14 Power 5 games, to be 9-5, and so to come into the Mountain West Conference, and the amount of money that they have too, right? That's real. In this day and age, having a good-sized wallet is a must.
Bison fans, I think, are looking at the glitzy road games of going to Honolulu and Vegas. I think your place is right at the top of the list. Tell us about what a night game is. That's what it's going to be when North Dakota State comes to Colorado Springs, what that atmosphere is like on a Saturday night.
Well, you never know. Each person has their own perspective in terms of I'll say this. If you love patriotism, if you love being around the men and women who serve and are willing to fight for our freedoms, that is plentiful, and that does get in your bloodstream. If you have pores that open up that way, to see the parachuters, to see the march on of our 4,200 students. Who knows if there are a couple F-15s or F-35s that scoot over the top, and yet still to play competitive football.
tell me about this league for fans that are going to watch it, Troy, for the first time, that are from Fargo or North Dakota. How do you define what Mountain West football is, in your opinion?
Well, there's great variety, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I think, not only in terms of styles of play, geography, different approaches by athletic departments, by the universities. And you do look, every year there are a good number of really, really talented football players. I think probably in recent years, just because there is more roster turnover, a lot of times, when do you first recognize that? Maybe after there have been 3 or 4 games. This is a really, really good league. I think it's only going to get better in the upcoming years, too. I'll say this, just how moving it is to be around. You want a caffeine jolt? Come be around the cadets at the Air Force Academy. And I know I said this a little bit earlier, but really they could go to about any school they wanted to, but there was something in their soul that said, no, I'm going to serve. And wherever they have me go, whether it's CONUS within the continental United States or, I'll tell you, the last 5 months, the number of testimonials I have from former players and what they're doing, what they might have just done here Pacific time in the afternoon that might have happened 9 hours, 9 different time zones away somewhere else. And, whether it's guys even back last June that were in a B-2 squadron that flew for 34 hours from Whiteman Air Force Base in the middle of Missouri to unload on a potential nuclear site there in Iran. And when they share with you, hey, Coach, guess who my refueler was along the way? Or guess who my 2 fighter escorts were? And you remember when they were 17 years old, they were young kids. And yep, today, as a captain or a major, as a fighter pilot, as a bomber pilot, as a servant, as a leader, as an officer for our country, that's incredibly moving and powerful.
Pretty good stuff there with the head football coach at Air Force.
You can watch Dom Izzo every weekday on Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, Inforum.com, or right here on Midwest Sports Plus. That'll do it for this week. We're getting ever so closer to kickoff. For video producer Cordell Wright and our content director Drew Trafton, I'm John Gaskins from Gibbs Sports Bar in Sioux Falls. We'll chat again next week on the South Dakota Sports Lounge. Cheers.